How can automation add value to patient care?
So now we're going to look at how we might use automation tools to affect the demand side of our planning. So I'm currently looking at the demand side of our plans, and I can see that within my intensive care unit I have certain demand for certain headcounts in certain job roles. So for example, the larger green areas are for my nurses. I've also got nursing managers, unit coordinators. Obviously I'm doing this for the intensive care unit, but I could be doing this at a much higher level across my organisation, so across my other functions, including my back office functions, or individual hospitals, the trust itself, a local, or even to a national level. We're going to stay with the intensive care unit for simplicity today. So I have a series of year-by-year figures on what the demand is going to be, likely to be, and what we would like to do is to try and take account of how increasing automation may lower that demand requirement. So one of the first places we can go and look is what are the demand drivers. So we calculate demand based on a series of drivers, and obviously these are set up to meet what your business requirements are. In this case, specifically the number of consults is one of the big demand drivers on here. One of the places that I could start to account for increased automation might be by reducing the amount of unproductive time that my staff have. So currently we're running at a 0.14% of unproductive time. How about, for example, we were able to introduce a system that allowed our staff to keep all their personal information up to date, to run rosters more easily, to see all of the tasks and learning that they've got to do, and to complete those in a much more efficient way. That might lower this unproductive time, non-patient facing time, from 0.14 maybe down to 0.9, and that would in turn lower the demand required because I would have slightly more time per person to get that done. So some simple automation around the kind of administrative functions that staff might do. Automation around things like, new medical practices, new medical tools, new technology in that space might affect, for example, staffing ratio. So it might be that in a high dependence area, an artificial intelligence helping us monitor how things might be going on and to give us pre-warning might mean that I could lower my staffing ratio from 2 maybe to 1.8. And again, small reduction, but across a large number of staff over a long time period that creates a very substantial decrease in the amount of demand that's needed. So that's on the demand drivers themselves. How about looking at the individual employees and the job roles and how automation might drive into those as well? Well, there's a couple of ways we could do this. So one of the simplest ones is to increase productivity. So again, a specific tool which enabled staff to be more productive, I could come in and increase or decrease a productivity level for a specific job role. So it might be that, again, a new piece of technology enables somebody to record notes more rapidly and spend less time doing filing. It might be, however, that I also can look at things like demand scaling. So it's quite common to say, whilst I may just have my nurses here, I may have a number of grades of nurse, and it might be that a higher graded, more experienced nurse has a different demand scale to a newly qualified nurse. So in fact, if I have more highly qualified nurses, I probably have a decrease in the demand amount that I have to have. However, that's of course offset by the fact that more highly qualified and more highly experienced nurses are typically going to cost me more. So that's where we come into the demand compensation, and we might start to say, well, actually, I could increase the number of my nurse practitioners and lower the number of nurses, but would that actually have an impact across there? So automation can help in a number of ways, but I always want to map that off against what that's going to potentially give me in the cost side of it. Ultimately, automation's about trying to lower the demand either by working more efficiently and using the same number of staff to get more done, or to use slightly fewer staff and get the same amount done. And automation can drive that. We can start to include those in our plans. And again, in our various workings in the plan, we can have a best case, a worst case, We can have a whole variety of different scenarios in there, plan against each one, and work out which is likely to be the most optimal to meet our demands.
Start planning tomorrow's workforce today and see results.